Okay, all right, your loom is warped. You're pulling off a piece of warp thread that's about an arm span long. So let's say about 6 feet if you were to measure it. Okay, cut that off and you're done with that. You have your tapestry needle, and when I'm threading any yarn needle, I think it's helpful to fold the yarn in half and stick that loop in, but whatever. I don't love the habit of tying your thread onto a needle because it makes a little knot, which creates a bump when you're pulling it through your weaving. And there's not really a reason to do that, so you can just leave a tail on there. Okay. And speaking of leaving a tail, you're going to bring your needle up through from the back. It actually is probably going to be easiest to do this with your loom lying down so that gravity doesn't pull this the other way. So this is where it's coming out. You're gonna leave a tail 5 or 6 inches long. You're gonna learn later what to do with that tail. We're gonna be working those ends in so the back of your weaving is neat, but you can't do that until you're much further along with your weaving. So you're taking this in one direction across the loom, going under every other warp thread. Okay, so it's an over, under tabby pattern. Okay, making sure this doesn't get tangled up. And pulling that across the warp. Now it's time to turn around. So I see the last warp thread that I did was over. So now I'm gonna bring this under that last warp thread. Okay, and pull this through. And there's a trick to making sure it doesn't pull too tight. Okay, so I'm going to leave a loop there for right now, and I'll show you the trick when I get further along. Okay, so that was an under, over, under. Now this tabby is going the opposite. So like any time on the previous row that I went over, now I'm going under. So I'm kind of looking as I go to make sure that my tabby is correct, because I know that if it's incorrect and if I accidentally go over 2 in a row or under 2 in a row, I'm gonna have to undo this row, and I don't really want to undo it. Okay, so now I'm pulling this tight, not really that tight though, and I'm ready to kind of close this loop. I'm gonna put this at a 45-degree angle, or pretty close to a 45-degree angle. I'm gonna make sure that this is not pulling in right there. Once it's at a 45-degree angle, then I can just compress this down. And by doing that, the weft, what I just wove in there, is not really tight. See how it's a little bit wavy and loopy, and that's actually a good thing. It will tighten up so you won't have that waviness to it, but that's a good thing because nothing is getting pulled in from the side, and the outer shape of your loom is going to remain straight, parallel to each other, and not cinched in. Okay, so I'm getting this all the way to the other side. I see that I made a mistake, so I'm going to have to just unweave that and turn around. But in any case, once I get it to the other side, I'm going to do that same thing. I have to turn around, weave it across at an angle, and then compress it down so that none of this is tight until you do 5 rows, and then I'm going to show you what to do next.